a very peaceful evening. One might almost suspect that you were all sleeping. Well, hopefully you will not be sleeping by the end of my discourse. We need to feel that you are at least interested enough to maintain your conscious state. Once again, you have made your way through your challenges, through your tests and trials to be here with me. And because of this, I have come to be with you. I wish you to know that I am supporting you all in your endeavors, especially upon your paths, supporting you all with my presence and my love, even at those times when you may feel a little bit lost or a little bit alone. And those times do come upon you. It is at times such as these when we are with you more, though you may feel us less. There is a story that I will tell you. It is somewhat of an analogy. The student and the master are walking along the beach. To a certain destination, leaving their footprints side by side in the sand. And the student in his trials and tests goes through many periods of great joy and bliss, and also periods of challenge and testing, periods of difficulty. And at a certain point in the path, when the student has attained to his realization, he looks back along the beach of those miles that he has come with his master, and he asks his master, "Master, there was a time when we were walking, and I saw your footprints next to mine in the sand. And then there was a time when I was walking, and there were only one pair of footprints. And it was at that time when I was most challenged, when I was most feeling alone and going through my most difficulties upon the path. And then there came other times when I was once again seeing you next to me and seeing your footprints. But what I want to know is why, when I was going through my most difficult period, why, when I was most in need, did your footprints disappear? Did I not feel you walking next to me?" And the master turned to the student and said, "It was at those times when I was carrying you, and those were my footprints. So on that note, I would like to speak a little bit about faith this evening. And we will get to some jokes perhaps later, Gemma. And of course your questions are always welcome, despite what the channel says. When we are in control, you may ask as many as you wish. When he is in control, I wouldn't ask anything. He'll shrug his shoulders and say, ask Sananda. This is how he gets off the hook. It is one of the benefits of being a channel, then, that you may disclaim responsibility in this way, you see, for being a teacher, at least for a certain time. Many, many beings incarnated upon this world as star seeds and as teachers, as examples for humanity long ago, many thousands of years ago. They began their journey, you began your journey, that would culminate in this particular ascension that you are beginning to experience. Along the way there was much learning, much growth, and much testing. And there was also much of falling into the sleep of third-dimensional illusion, as you know. In a sense, it was necessary for you to do this in order to understand and to have compassion for those other beings who have been in that state, those others that you came to assist. You need to have a certain degree of experience to share, something in common, a place to connect with human beings. And now you are at the point where you have come through the illusion, you have come through, for the most part, that veiled experience, more and more into the light, into the beauty that you originally came from. Now you are longing to have only the best for yourselves. I think you are attaining to a point where you are feeling that you cannot settle for less any longer. This is an important point in your path, you see. It is an important juncture. For when you give yourself to this ultimate experience, when you commit yourself to it, you embark upon another leg, another phase of the journey. And it is in this phase when you are most tested, when your faith is tested, when your clarity and your love and all of those beautiful attributes that you have, your trust, your ability to know, to believe in what you have experienced as truth. It is easy to go along with the mass of humanity. Those roads are well paved and well marked, and while they may not be entirely satisfying, they are somewhat easier to traverse. All those paths that lead into the ascension process have always been less traveled, have always been more difficult to find and more difficult to climb. It is the difference between a 4-lane highway and a goat trail. And you are all doing well as hardy goats. I can hear your bells ringing now. The bells are to keep you awake on your journey. Let me put it this way. I'll tell you another story. This one I'm going to make up as I go along. So you will have to bear with me. Last time I came through and brought you that wonderful joke about the bar, which was so popular, you are encouraging me now to be more creative in my communications. Also, I have noticed it keeps you awake. Let us say that you are in a party of explorers, 100 explorers, and you are from various backgrounds gathered together as an expeditionary force to the Himalayas, seeking the paradisical valley of Shangri-La. You have heard of it and you have rumors of it, legends and writings, and you are going to attempt to track these down and to find this wonderful place. In the beginning of your journey, you have many things in common, and one of the most profound is that you are all somewhat bored with normal life. You have given up your standard 4-lane highway experience in search of something more, in search of some perfection that you know exists. And this binds you together as a group, helps you to cooperate to a certain extent. And so you begin your journey and you begin climbing in the Himalayas. You have your guides and you have your 100 comrades. And as you climb, the track narrows. Things become a little bit more difficult, a little more tedious. You come to certain trials and tests upon your path, and at each one of these tests, it appears that some of your number feel that the road is too difficult for them and they turn back. At first it may be the tedium of the climb, the physical effort that is involved, the altitude, the lack of certainty of the goal. And yet also along the trail, the explorers do find bits and pieces of legend that lead them on into thinking that they are going in the right direction. And so they continue. They cross many chasms. They climb higher and higher as the trail narrows and becomes less easy to follow, until they attain to a certain point, that which I would say call the point of no return. That is, their stores of food and water and their supplies have gotten diminished to the point where they are only half of what they were when they began. It is at this point that the explorers must decide whether to go on or whether to turn back, for they only have enough, apparently enough food and sustenance to last them the amount of time it would take to return. So at this point, there is much discussion and many leave the party, feeling that it is foolish to continue on such a quest with such slim clues and hopes to guide them. So many leave the party at that point. maybe there are 25 left who will go on. And these are trusting and having faith that though their supplies may appear to be insufficient, that they will come into that place that they are seeking and there be replenished. So it is those 25 who are giving themselves to the faith and trust that truly they will succeed in their journey, or they may perish. How do you like my movie so far?
Mm-hmm. What's next?
It gets worse and worse. So they continue for a while longer, climbing. The weather gets worse. There are blizzards. Their food runs lower. They come to more and more difficult traverses. At a certain point, the half of the remnant of beings decides to turn around and go back and make the best attempt they can at reaching civilization. So there are maybe 12 left. But along their way, they come to more clues, and their faith is rekindled. They do feel they are on the right path, and that all of their trust and faith will not go unrewarded, that they will be the ones who make it to the end of the journey. And finally, they come to the most difficult test. Just as they are feeling that they are very close to the valley, they are feeling a change in the temperature. They are sensing something in the air, a presence. They are feeling that they are just around the corner from making their discovery and attaining that paradise that they have sought. And they come to what appears to be an impassable object. They come to a bridge made of rope that is frayed over a bottomless chasm. And it is a bridge which, to the objective eye, would in no way sustain the weight of even a human being. And at that point, of the 12 that are remaining, perhaps 1 or 2 or 3 decide to make the attempt to cross this bridge while the others turn around and go back, feeling that it is certain death to continue in this way. I wonder if they're going to make it. Mm-hmm. I can make the story any way I like. There is no copyright on this particular story. And as they are sitting there, the remaining 3, trying to decide and to get their courage up, feeling that they are very close, knowing that they have not enough sustenance to take them back the way they came at any rate, it is a matter for them to choose. And they sit and contemplate, and as they do so, they feel the beautiful presence of their destination. They feel the longing in their hearts, and they feel a presence of spiritual power and grace surrounding them, and they feel themselves a little bit lighter. In fact, they feel that perhaps they are light enough to make the effort, to make the attempt. And one by one they cross the bridge in most miraculous fashion. And rounding the next curve, they find that they are truly greeted, welcomed by the inhabitants of paradise. I do not think they'll go back, do you?
No.
So why am I telling you this long, involved story? Well, at this point, you see, of the 144,000, roughly, star seeds who incarnated upon the earth, there are only a few thousand who are truly giving themselves to this ascension path, the first wave of the ascension, that is. And what I am saying is that you are those beings who have had the faith and who will still need the faith to cross your bridge and to attain to your final destinations. You could say you are at that crossroads or at that bridge where you are waiting and wondering how you are going to get across and wondering if your food will hold out and this sort of thing. And ultimately it is your faith that will carry you. It is the longing in your hearts and the love that you feel and your unwillingness to accept anything less, of course. It has taken you far off the beaten path in your consciousness. Perhaps it has taken you far off the beaten path in your life, in your endeavors. Perhaps you have made decisions that you would not have ordinarily made. Perhaps you find yourself feeling alone at times, wishing you had more companions, more moral support for this journey. But I say to you that you will succeed. We will not allow you to fall down the bottomless chasm. We will not allow you to starve to death. We will do our best to take care of your needs. For those who return to civilization may have many stories to tell, may have much to talk about with their companions around the dining table, but those who continue on will attain to paradise. So just as it seems at times in your own lives, it seems that your funds and your support and your nurturance will run out. It seems that you are all alone walking on the beach. You cannot perhaps at times feel your guides. You cannot see that we are really carrying you. This is where your faith comes in. This is where your faith, based upon the love and beauty that you have experienced, based upon the clues that you have already received, that which brought you upon this journey in the first place, you will find that your clues and your longing and your endeavor will be successful. And there are going to be those times, and I'm sure you have all experienced them already, when there is little you can do but pray for assistance. Call upon myself and the other guides and teachers to be with you, to help you. Those times when you cannot feel or you cannot see what lies ahead, where you are walking and working on trust rather than a certainty. Certainty is something that you experience on the 4-lane highway. It is well marked, it is well lighted, it is all but impossible to get lost with all of the huge green signs telling you which way to turn for each destination. But you are in a much more subtle, much more rarefied atmosphere in the Himalayas up here, much closer to us, in fact. So there will be those times when you feel that you have lost your certainty, or that you see that you are entering a dark space and trusting that there will be light at the end of it. This is where your faith comes in. Sometimes this is all you have to carry you forward, your faith and your longing. And the fact that you have committed yourself to going beyond the point of no return, you may as well continue with the journey. You may as well put your entire being into it. In fact, this may be what is required of the first wave of the evacuation. Much more is required of the first wave than of the subsequent waves, you see. The benefits are much greater. The opportunities are much greater. But the tests are greater too. And most of all, it is a test of faith to give yourself to something that you have never seen experienced, you have never seen accomplished. You have never seen anyone crossing that thin rope bridge over the bottomless chasm. In the second wave and the third wave, you see there will be beings who can say, I think they will be yourselves, who can say, yes, we walked across that bridge and look, we made it, we're in one piece. In fact, we are doing quite well for ourselves. So go ahead and make the effort. And this will be a reassurance to those who come after you. You have not such reassurance. You will have more need of faith. I am telling you all of this so that in those times, which I am sure you have all experienced, when things do seem very difficult, you will not feel that you are off your path, you see. You will not feel that you have taken a wrong turn, for we are always coming through and speaking to you about all of the love and peace and light and bliss, which is the main experience that we have and that you will have and the main experience that you are having. But there is this aspect of the journey that is difficult at times. It is an aspect wherein you are asked to sever your attachments to your past, to your beliefs in limitation, to all those things that you have held on to for security. So do not think that if things are difficult, you are going in the wrong direction. Rather think that if things are difficult, you are getting close. You are perhaps at the rope bridge, and you are very close to your destination. You never know what's around the next corner. It could be another 20 miles of climbing, or it could be that beautiful valley. I tell you, it is at this point, it is at that point of the last curve when many will give up their search. You see, as explorers upon this path, as pioneers on the Ascension path, you have your presence and your guides. You are also haunted by certain specters, certain ghosts from out of your past. The past beliefs that you have held about your own lack of ability or your own unworthiness, perhaps. Your fears and your all those beliefs that you have held about yourself that have limited you. They tend to follow you up the path. They tend to try to surround you, try to reintegrate themselves. And it is up to you to sever your connection with them. You need to release your beliefs in the past, so that you can be fulfilled with what is to come, so that you can be cared for, so that there is no obstruction to our nurturance and support of you on your journey. And you will attain to the altitude that you to the same degree that you release your past, you release your past beliefs in limitation. It is impossible to have too good of an opinion of yourself, I would say. For you are such divine beings. Your heritages, your latent potential is so vast that I do not think any of you could come up with an adequate belief system that could encompass who you truly are and how magnificent your beings are. So you don't have to worry about overstating your deservingness. You do not. I do not think it is possible to do so. So leave the specters behind, my friends. The specters can live at the lower altitudes. They will not survive at the heights in which you are entering. It is oftentimes a choice between focusing upon your own breath, your own aliveness, and the specters that haunt you. And your choice to focus upon the moment and to leave the past behind, focus upon the breath and to do your maximum to be in the light and to be in that peaceful state. This is what is important. You will not always succeed. You will be overcome at times, of course, for the journey is most arduous at times. The emotional bodies are dense. They contain much that is difficult to release. But it is entirely possible, and you will succeed if it is in your heart, if it is your desire, and if you can attain to that faith and trust that you require, and that simple clarity that chooses this moment over the past, over fear. So I hope my story was not too melodramatic for you. It was a little more complicated than I thought when I began it. Perhaps that is just the way you might feel about your ascension path. So are there questions for me this evening? I will talk to you for a while longer, but I give you this opportunity to ply me with your questions and concerns.
Sananda, in these days before the first wave of ascension, what's the best attitude to have toward the ascension and toward my own participation in it?
I would say to be grateful. To be grateful for your openness and for your awareness of that which is occurring at this time. Be grateful for the fact that you are aware of the ascension, that you are preparing for it. and be trusting. Trust that you will be in the right place at the right time, and that the maximum attainment that you can achieve will be accomplished. I would say also not to take things too seriously. I forgot to tell you about all the wonderful jokes that were shared upon the journey up the mountain. Well, next time I tell the story, I will include them. I think you will realize that within the present consciousness that you are in, you are veiled to a certain extent, a great extent. And there will be a great deal of this up until the time that you attain to the Ascension. So you may feel that you don't know what's going on. You may feel that you are more lost than ever, or perhaps less enlightened. It is an aspect of the path that the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. So I think it is for you to release your seriousness and attachment to analyzing your particular state of consciousness, you see. Simply give yourself to the gratitude and trust and love, and do your best upon your meditation path. Do your best to open up in those ways that you can. And there is a certain point where you attain to a state of peace, a state of clarity. I think it might come to you after you pass that point of no return, where you realize you are committed to the goal. There is a certain peace that comes over you that carries you through the difficulties and the uncertainties. So it is a matter of making a maximum effort at enlightenment without being too attached to attaining enlightenment. The times are very, very chaotic. As you know, the Earth scene is becoming more confused and more chaotic, and there is more of release. So there will be times when it is appearing that you are not succeeding. And for you it is to release this belief and know that it is an old belief in failure and unworthiness, this sort of thing. And hold to the belief that you will succeed, that you are loved, you know you are loved, and you know that you deserve all that you wish to experience. Trust in the purity of your own heart to carry you. It is not something that you need to cultivate by your good deeds or convince yourself of. It exists. You are a pure, loving being, a brilliant, radiant, loving being. So have this awareness of yourself, all of you. Release your self-criticisms and don't compare yourself to others who are not going through this transformation. Many others who are not going through the transformation appear to be having an easier time. It is part of the testing. It is part of the stripping away of the ego and the attachment to limitation. So be happy and have a good sense of humor also. It is good to be able to laugh at yourself. You may even laugh at your predicament. You may say, "Oh my goodness, look what I've done. I must be crazy. I've taken this journey up this mountain and I don't have enough food and water to get back, and I have to keep going, and I don't even know if I'm going to make it." But know that there is no such thing as death on this journey. You will make it. It is quite humorous when you can view it from that perspective. I would suggest to view this process as something that has already been attained. Perhaps you could look at your current life as a dream, knowing that you are about to awaken and you will awaken in the Shangri-La. And in the Shangri-La you will awaken and say, oh my goodness, I had such a dream. I was caught on the side of this mountain and I didn't know where I was going. And someone was telling me that I was going to attain paradise, and I didn't know whether to believe them or not. And I didn't know whether to go on or to stop, and I couldn't even meditate. I was so confused. I'm glad it was a dream. Well, now you're in the dream, but you will soon awaken. And the veils will be removed, and then this life, this experience will be to you just as that dream is to the one who awakens. You will remember it, but it will not be the same. It will not have any power over you. So whatever you can do to release the power, the dream's power over you at this time is good. Everyone has their own way of doing this. With some people it is a good sense of humor. With other people it is to meditate a lot and to maintain a very strong contact with their guidance so they feel nurtured and secure. Everyone has their own coping mechanisms while they are going through the dream. But all will awaken. So love yourself as you are now, as you judge yourself to be in your limitations. Love yourself. Release your fears. Feel them and let them go. It's all part of the dream, the boogeyman. Well, I guess that's a long answer to a short question.
Thank you.
Somewhere in there you could perhaps find a few pearls of wisdom that would apply to you. That's what we call the shotgun approach.
Sananda, I've been wondering about those who are starseed and those who you speak of as humanity. And sometimes it's hard for me to understand why there's a difference, because there's the Christ force in both, isn't there?
Yes.
Yes.
The only difference is in point of origin and previous experience.
Ah, okay.
The earth culture, you see, is made up of beings who have not attained to the Ascension experience. It is in its evolvement, in its evolutionary stage. And there have been many, many difficulties with this evolution, you see. Mm-hmm. The fall from grace, as it is called, Luciferian or rebellion. Much has been written upon this if you wish to study it. The result is that human beings are existing in a third-dimensional reality. You yourselves have come from a higher dimension and have allowed yourselves to fall also. By fall, I mean the frequency of your vibration has dropped a little bit in order for you to enter this realm in this way. So that is the difference. It is not that you are divine and they are not divine. Mm-hmm. All are divine. It is just a matter of a reference point, a way of describing your path as opposed to their path. And so your path is different. Your path is